Welcome into the Star Trek Universe podcast. Tonight we are talking Star Trek Discovery 204 and Obol For Charon. Right after this.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Well, hello, David C. Robertson.
Howdy.
How have you been?
Oh, you know, the same old, doing the old podcast grind.
Yeah, man. It can be. We both got two now, and you know, gotta, especially when they're both producing as much. You know, now that Discovery's back on, I'm super excited. But Discovery's back on. We just had, over on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we just had Punisher dropped, so we did an episode for all 13 episodes of the new Punisher season. Mm-hmm. And that, my friend, that is a grind. But I love it. Punisher is so good. Good.
I'm glad that it's, you know, making you happy before its inevitable demise.
Oh yeah, it'll be canceled the next couple days, probably. But you know, again, just like I said about Daredevil, I think I even said it on this show, it ended in a way that if it never has another episode, it ended well.
Mm-hmm. It died as it lived. I don't have a follow-up statement. I just thought it was funny to say.
That's good. So, Star Trek, eh?
Yeah, man.
I like it.
Yeah, this is, let's do the CBS All Access summary. A mysterious sphere threatens the USS Discovery, even as May, in her original form, implements a plan that puts Tilly's life in danger. Saru and Burnham's bond grows when Saru is forced to acknowledge a deeply unsettling Kelpian truth. Pike receives new intel on Spock from a loyal friend. That loyal friend being number one.
Yes. I thought that was neat. Did number one ever have a name?
No.
In the original? I didn't think so. I think it's really funny they still didn't give her a name.
I think she has a name in some expanded universe. Yeah.
Right. I figured that might be the case. But it's funny that they didn't make that name canon.
Yeah. I mean, and you'd be surprised at how often they do. Like, I think Nyoto Uhura, I think that Nyoto was, I'm pretty sure that was from Extended Universe.
Okay, cool.
Which I think they didn't make canon until 2009's Star Trek movie. So right. I guess technically for some people it's probably not canon at all.
It's not canon because it could have been affected by the destruction of the Kelvin.
Right. In that Prime universe, her name was Sally.
Yeah. Sally Uhura.
Yeah, Sally's a Swahili name, for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Alright, so yeah, I thought this was a very, very Star Trek episode. Like
it was very Star Trek.
It's very classic Star Trek.
I mean, in many ways. Even some of the tools they were using. In engineering, they had a couple tools out when they were getting ready to cut into Tilly's brain or whatever. And some of them looked like original series tools. They really seem to be working this episode to bring it back into canon. For one thing, having them rip out the holographic, that was a fan service moment if ever I've seen one.
Yeah, Pike wants them to rip out all the holographic interfaces on the Enterprise.
We'll be going back to using view screens. It's just like, right. Yeah, you will.
Which I thought was funny, but I sincerely hope that that's not their fix for why they you know, because that's funny, but Pike telling them to rip out all the holographic interfaces wouldn't be a reason that they didn't use them on any iteration of the Enterprise after Kirk, any iteration of the Enterprise after that, or on the Enterprise D, or on the Defiant, or, I mean,
well, my headcanon for that was, he said he said the reason they had to take them out was because it was mucking up their engines somehow, which first off, to me makes no sense, but whatever. No. Let's say somehow something in the Constitution class vessel that makes the engines work properly is conflicting with that system, and so they can't be on the same ship, and it's possible that whatever is efficient about that engine went on to be used in those future versions of the Enterprise, and so they continued to not use a holographic interface. Maybe they just found that the holographic interface is mucked up the works too much.
Right. I mean, Scotty did say the more you overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. I just don't buy it.
Right. I hear you. It at least relieves the idea of the holographic ones not being in existence in the original series. Now after that, well, yeah, it doesn't really, it's a stretch after that.
Yeah, which, we still have Alex Kurtzman who's saying that they're going to sync up with canon proper. I'm not sure how, given the uniforms and everything. There's just so many things. But, this story, Aaron Harberts did, work on this episode, and he was one of the showrunners who got fired, essentially. So we're not going to be out from under those two showrunners who got fired. We're not going to be out from under their thumb for another few episodes. I think it's like episode 6 or 7. And then it's like straight up Alex Kurtzman running the show. But, yeah, that was an interesting line, and it made me chuckle, but also roll my eyes and go, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see if that's like their version of fixing canon. Cause
I honestly think it is. I don't think they're going to do anything else with that. I think that is all we're going to get for, hey, the Enterprise does not have holograms. Now that doesn't explain the Enterprise D or E or whatever, but we could it gives us a standard that, okay, at least they're not always going to be there. There are ships without them. So there you go.
Right. And, I did laugh when Pike mentioned that it was like he didn't like them anyway because it makes him think it's a ghost or something.
Yeah, I like that too. Going back to the DS9 episode when he mentions that it's new technology, he says something about the new holographic technology, and the ones in that look like people. And so to me, I always took that line to just mean, yeah, they had holograms before, but just not really good looking ones. Like they're new high def holograms in DS9.
Those ones on DS9 didn't look good. Didn't look
really?
nearly as good as the one on Discovery.
See, I thought they looked more like real people. I don't know. I thought
they were like, they looked like they were standing there, but it was like they were blue and like shimmery.
Oh, like maybe I might just be straight up misremembering.
I don't know. It has been a long time, and I don't know.
Well, so what'd you think of the overall arc of this episode? This orb out in space.
I mean, it was classic Trek. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very paint by numbers Trek, I thought. It did do a good job of tying into a lot of the storylines going on. It advanced the storyline of this a mycelial organism or whatever. That was kind of that was all neat. It advanced Saru's storyline in a big way, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, I thought it was dumb.
I kind of thought it was dumb for a minute too, but after thinking about it, I like it a lot.
Like his ganglia fall out just as she's about to cut them out. I don't know. It just seemed convenient. Sure.
But I think that it doesn't really matter the mechanic to which happened, like the ganglia falling out. The representation is that that was just, the ganglia are I guess a part of their adolescence of some type is this is the way I took it anyway. The ganglia and the entire thing is a part of their childhood or adolescence. And when they fall out, it's but they become sick before it happens. And then when they fall out, they somehow mature. Kelpians, it seems like, and they become strong. He said, "I feel my power." They become strong and less fearful, and the Ba'ul have convinced them that I don't know. I thought that was all really cool. Now I did not particularly like that scene between Burnham and Saru. I really didn't. I thought it was overwrought and a little overly touching. I don't know. It didn't get me emotional, which I felt like they were really trying to.
Oh, it got me emotionally. I didn't think that was overwrought at all. That was fine. That was really good. Cool.
Yeah, that scene didn't strike me like I felt like the show was trying to strike me. It felt a little, for one thing, I was like, I just don't think he's going to die. Like, I just didn't think it was.
Well, we've seen trailers. We know he's not. We know he's standing there with his sister facing what we assume is the Bible. So.
Yeah, I forgot that. I have a very selective memory, and sometimes I choose not to remember things so that I can be surprised.
Right.
But yeah, I I would have heard if he was leaving the show probably, which kind of sucks to feel that way, but like, I was like, they're not going to kill Saru. There's too much left undone. Like, I think they're going to continue with the Kelpian stuff. Like, they had me question it for a minute, but I kind of just felt like they had a really long dramatic scene for something that I didn't feel like had stakes.
It doesn't, you don't have to have the character die for it to have stakes, man.
Sure. It has effects, but I don't know. It obviously had a big effect on Burnham and a big effect on Saru. It just felt like it's supposed to be an element of fear there for me. I felt like they were trying to make me go through the emotion of fear for him and sorrow for him. And I was not going through that because I didn't feel like he was going to die. But,
all right.
But that, it's fine. I other than that, I liked it. I didn't mind the thing falling out though.
I just thought it was dumb when it happened. Like, at the time that it happened.
Right.
I thought that was sort of a cheap ploy.
It's so funny. We go back and forth in the show. Like, I'm like, I thought this part was dumb. You're like, oh, I like that part. You're like, I thought this part was dumb. I was like, I didn't mind that part. We both have just such like pretty strong feelings like this was dumb. And the other person does not. Oh, no. We both have pretty high opinions of the episodes, but there's like completely different parts we thought were dumb. Let's see. I really liked, what's her name? Jet Reno. It distracted me. Their name reminded me so much of Janet Reno.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all.
Janet. That's the only person I know named Reno. And her name starting with a J. I don't know. Just reminded me of it.
I think Tig Notaro said that the character originally had a different name. I don't remember what it was, but it was something else, Reno, and she changed it to Jet because of Joan Jett. Okay. Yeah. She liked that better. I don't know.
Yeah, I liked her in this episode. I think even more so than I liked her in the first episode she was in.
Yeah, she was fun. She was a very specific type of character, like sort of. I don't know, like sort of a Scotty type of character, but a little more MacGyverish. I don't know, chewing the gum to stick in the panel. Yeah, I like the MacGyver stuff. I also liked her pushing back on Stamets so much for his hippy dippy ways. I liked that there is a dichotomy. I always like there when there's a difference of opinion on the ship and when two characters pull in different directions. Yeah. So I dug that. And, what I loved most about that scene, or all of that storyline, was when the shit hit the fan, how, even though they're like throwing barbs back and forth, and there's obviously like, I don't know, they obviously don't like each other. When the shit hits the fan, Stamets, Reno, and Tilly all jump into action and start working together. In true Federation fashion or whatever. I just like that a lot. Yeah, that was good. That creature is disgusting and weird, and I don't like it. Yeah, it's definitely gross looking. That's for sure. And it also looked a lot like the orb they were messing with. Like the whole episode was about. Like, it just did have a similar look to it. I felt like Tilly asking that question, do you think it's connected? I felt like that was almost like of course not, viewer. Even though they look kind of similar. You know what I think it looks like? I didn't think it looked like that. I thought it just looked like, a ball of pocket lint that's gotten out of control. A sentient pocket lint. Yeah, until it actually ensconced her completely, and then it was like, some kind of crusty thing. Have you watched any of, Stranger Things? Yeah, I've seen it all. Okay. It just, especially once at the end she disappeared, I was like, she's gone to the upside down. And then it showed in the trailer for next week, it showed her like traveling somewhere, and I was like, oh man, she's totally in the upside down. Yeah, Bethany, my wife Bethany said the same thing. Oh, funny. Ha, smart girl. I like the idea that this parasite or whatever is like, nah, man, you were messing up everything with this spore drive. I like that.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely, I almost felt like, I think I even called that exact thing a couple episodes ago because we were talking about different canon problems and we were talking about how does the spore drive work with canon? And I was like, well, they probably just find out it like messes with the environment in some weird way and they just have to stop, which that's apparently the case, but it also is, particularly, the fact that they're hurting another species. It's very obviously against Stamets' whole thing. Although when he started saying, I knew better, I know better, I was like, did he? I don't know that he knew better.
I mean, he knew that mirror Stamets had, like, infected it, but...
Yeah, it just seemed like, I thought his statement of, I knew better, I know better, was like, it seems strange because I don't think he knew better. Like, he did not know the effects. And that's the whole thing about science is you go forward and sometimes there's unintended consequences. And like, he could say sorry. That's fine. And he did. And he said he can do anything he can to make it right. But I knew better was kind of a weird thing for him to say. It's like, cause he didn't know the repercussions. He didn't know there were sentient life on the other side of that he was entering into their universe or whatever. He was intruding, as she said.
I don't know. I'm interested to see if they jump back into that at all and explain why he doesn't. Like, I don't remember him acting like he knew that before, but
yeah, I don't think he did, and I think it was more just like I knew better than to like mess with.
Think you wouldn't have consequences?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Than to think it wouldn't have consequences, but. Like, it also just seems weird because he's a scientist. His whole thing is he wants to learn new things, and the way he's doing that is by discovering and trying new things. So you can't just assume all science is going to have negative consequences, and then you just never do anything new. So, I don't know. It felt strange for him. I felt like he would have felt horrible and sort of betrayed by his own ambitions to do something that hurt another culture. But I don't, his phrase, I knew better, was like, did you? unless they dive into that and explain to us why he knew better. But you mentioned them diving back in. I definitely think they're diving back in just because Tilly's gone wherever these people are, it seems.
Well, I don't mean like diving into the mycelial network or whatever.
That specific thing. I gotcha.
I just mean specifically whether or not Stamets knew.
Yeah, yeah.
Or how much he knew and when he knew it.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think we're definitely getting into, like, I don't know, who are these people? She mentioned the name of the race. I didn't get it. Whatever this race of creatures is that's living.
Yeah.
Either, I guess, within the mycelium network, but it could be wherever they're somehow passing through when they use this mycelium network. It's cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to find out who the new wormhole aliens are.
Oh, is that what you think it is?
I don't know. We made the parallel last week, and so I'm just like, yeah, new wormhole aliens, man. These beings that exist outside of time and space that can do anything and go anywhere, and we don't fully understand. And
yeah, you were talking about that, and I was thinking about it after the show, and I thought, Discovery winds up 1,000 years in the future.
Ooh, good theory. Or would it even have to? Discovery what if the DS9 stable wormhole is Discovery's last jump locked in time?
I wasn't going with DS9's wormhole.
Oh, sorry. That's what I thought you were talking about with the...
No, I was just thinking about
aliens.
No. I was just thinking about the mycelial network being able to send it anywhere, anytime, pretty much.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that. We talked about that last week with the idea that, like, we talked about discovering getting out of the way of canon, and the only way it can really do that is to go forward into the future. We're like, well, it has an engine that can go through time, so yeah, take it anywhere. Get it out of this part of canon. It's rot, man. These are dicey waters.
They did seem particularly impressed in that season opener when they were like, so this is where the Federation spends its pennies. All right.
Yeah, I think what we're supposed to believe about the whole, like, the Enterprise, and I guess it's been on a 3-year mission. So I guess it just came back for a refit. And that's, guess when it got the holographic, like, just extrapolating from the very little bit we know about the Enterprise so far. I guess it came back from its 5-year mission early. And then it got a refit, which got holographic technology put on it, which somehow didn't work with whatever engines it was using. And then maybe they took them out.
I got the idea that Pike specifically had used the holographic systems and just didn't care for it anyway. And for some reason, like, I'm not really sure. But it doesn't matter because it's still like 3 or 4 years after the Cage, and the Enterprise did not look like that during the Cage. There were only very, very slight exterior changes between the Cage and where No Man Has Gone before. Inside, it got brighter. They changed some stuff, internally as far as the sets are concerned. But, the uniforms aren't syncing up with Discovery. Like, there are a lot of things that aren't syncing up as far as canon. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still a different universe.
Right. I know. I have weird allowances that I will give canon. But we know this. Mm-hmm. I tend to give it aesthetic allowances, but not technological. That's where I tend to draw the line. It's like, if you can't do something, you can't do it 100 years earlier. Like, that's stupid. But if you want to change the way something looks slightly, it doesn't bother me. But I know you have a great affection for all of the look of the original series.
Right. And, I give it to them when they did the remastered original series. Like, they replaced the little, like, they had the little tiles in the original series that told, like, that was the chronometer. And they just updated that to a digital chronometer. I give them that. That's awesome. Yes, please give me that. I don't mind updating it to where it's like, on a lot of the original series, like, they'll show like a file on one of the screens on the bridge, and it'll just be like a picture of a piece of paper. And I don't mind if they like got rid of that and I was like, oh, here's the file, or whatever, or here's a PDF or something. But when it actually gets to the aesthetic, it just bothers me when they change it. I think primarily, but like if they had been retconning it like they do in comic books for all these years, that would have been one thing. But since, they held true to it all the way through Enterprise, I kind of just want that to be the 23rd century. And I mean, they've even made comments about how they have a funny idea about uniforms and like their technology is interestingly stylized and stuff. So,
yeah, man,
it's my hang up.
Yeah, man, I hear you. Yeah, I do not have the aesthetic hang up. I understand that we're in a different time, and showrunners and like art directors want to make their stamp on something, but I'm with you. I wish they'd just make it on something new and stop trying to retread the old stuff and rewrite it. That's weird. But
aside from trying to shoehorn Pike and Spock into the series and stuff, I don't really see much reason why they felt the need to place it in the period of time they did. And I just don't know. I don't know if that was a Brian Fuller thing and it didn't turn out the way he wanted it to, or what happened exactly.
And I know we've talked to all this canon stuff. But I feel like they're just so addicted to sticking to past Trek. I mean, obviously with the 2009 Star Trek, it's just like they're scared to go forward. And I mean, even it's weird because I feel like the last Star Trek that was super successful was the one that jumped forward 100 years. Mm-hmm. And then, they had the two that were right there with it, which did okay, but weren't great, weren't like nearly as highly received as the Next Generation. Mm-hmm. And then you've got, then they jumped back and did Enterprise, and it wasn't that well received. Then they jumped not further back, I'm sorry. They jumped further back in our timeline, forward in their timeline, and forged a new timeline. Okay, I'm stuck on a timeline thing. But they made the 2009 Star Trek, and that wasn't as well received as they wanted it to be. Maybe 2009 was, but the two movies after that weren't. It's had diminishing results. And then they decided to do it again, another prequel. And I'm just like, I feel like the whole Star Trek thing is about boldly going to something new, and everything they've done that's gone backwards has not been as successful. I don't know what's driving them to continue to do that.
To be fair, Star Trek Beyond was very well received with the fans.
Yes.
And with critics, but it made no money because they did not market it.
Right. And Star Trek Beyond was my favorite of the three. But that's the thing. I think it was well received, but I'm talking about like success, like money. And I don't know why they feel I think they feel the drive to go backwards because they want to stay connected to something that people know, but they keep doing that and failing and doing it again. And I don't get it.
I think, it's not necessarily the same day over and over again. Obviously, like with Enterprise, it was Rick Berman and Brandon Braga who wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Completely different set of people. And, Berman and Braga wanted to keep going. Like there's a script called Star Trek: The Beginning about Tiberius Chase, Kirk's grandfather or whatever, right before the Romulan Wars. And that was going to be the first part of a trilogy. That's where they were going to try to go when Nemesis tanked. But yeah, I think they were afraid of going forward, not just because of it getting further from the stuff that people know. I think they were afraid of trying to guess what the next 100 years was going to look like.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I'm over here going, you guys have like 5 or 6, backdoor pilots in Voyager. Just do a temporal fleet show in the 29th century.
Yeah, but then you got a time travel show.
Yeah, you do. I mean, Voyager was a time travel show.
It had major time travel episodes, and I mean, so did Enterprise, for that matter. But man, the raw nature of an entire show based around time travel is insane. It's just very hard to pull that off.
It's apparently pretty hard to pull off any kind of Star Trek now.
Well, I just mean any show about time travel, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Doctor Who just has to say timey-wimey a lot. That's such a weird thing to like have a somewhat, I don't know what word I'm trying to look for. I almost said grounded, but that show is not grounded. It's trying to be a science fiction show, but then they just like decide to do things that don't make any sense, and they just go, timey-wimey.
Yeah.
It's so great.
And I can appreciate it for that. I do enjoy that about Doctor Who.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think, I enjoy that it's just on its face. They're just like, yeah, we're going to be a little silly here. It's fine. I'm glad we talked all that canon stuff because I don't think I'd ever really narrowed down. We've talked about it so many times in our lives, not just on this show, but in our lives, about our differences of what we think about canon. And I never realized that one of the major things that is a difference for me is aesthetics. I don't care about. Technology I do. Like that's just, I think that I've found something sort of true about my views of canon. Because a lot of times I'm just like, this doesn't bother me. That does. This doesn't bother me. That does. And I never really narrowed it down, but I think that is at least one of the axes that I operate on.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to get too caught up in it because I can really, I could get really crazy about it. Like, if you go back and they do keep a consistency with the remastered stuff with the new effects, but if you go back to like the original special effects, the exterior of the Enterprise looks completely different in almost every shot. Like, because they have like 3 or 4 different models. Some of their stock shots from the pilot. Sometimes the back end of the nacelles are the balls. Sometimes they're grates. Sometimes the tip of the nacelles have the little like Bussard dish. Sometimes it doesn't.
I would just be headcanoning that to like, oh, that's just it in a different mode or something.
Yeah, that's what I did when I was a kid. But then, you kind of go, nope, those are just stock shots, and they didn't think anyone would notice.
Yeah, we noticed.
The bridge dome is bigger in the older stuff than it is in the newer. There are little differences.
Cool. So, any other things about this episode before we get into quotes?
I don't think so. I thought it was Pretty good episode, honestly.
Yeah, same here. I don't know that it broke any crazy new ground, but I do like seeing episodes that feel like Star Trek that continue with the serialized nature of Discovery.
Yeah, I was happy that they got that 100,000 years of knowledge.
Yeah.
I hope that helps them with the red burst in some way. But if this was not part of a serialized season, I would be sitting here listening to Picard say, "Oh, we gained 100,000 years of knowledge from that creature." I'm going to be like, "Cool," and we'll never hear about that again.
Right. I don't know that, but even if we never do, because they said it's like they said, it's like finding the Dead Sea Scrolls of the galaxy. So that's not necessarily going to be applicable to what they need to know right now. Like, I like it. It's cool that they have that, and I'd love for them to bring it back and use it for whatever. But I just mean this episode still had major impact on characters.
Yeah.
So it still like builds the larger tapestry, and particularly Saru, because now Saru's got to make a decision. Saru's got to make a decision between his people and the Federation, really, because he's going to he wants to break General Order 1.
Absolutely.
And he's feeling power enough to do it.
Yeah, it seems that he's got some real moral quandaries ahead of him.
Yeah. Like, if he has to make that decision between, actually, like, make the decision between the Federation. Like, if he's ordered to stand down and we have a real, like, insurrection on our hands.
By the way, wouldn't it be great if they just said, by the way, we looked at all that 100,000 years worth of knowledge, and
mostly
it turns out
porn.
I was gonna say, like, the creature was just, like a galactic version of a shut-in. Yeah. Never really left his sector, Oh, what does it know? Mostly game shows. A lot of Price is Right.
I was interested. I guess they were far out. I don't know where they were supposed to be, but it seems strange that this huge thing existed. I guess maybe it had traveled there. I don't know. They didn't really get into it.
Yeah, I'm ashamed to say that I don't know that. I need to go back and watch it again. Yeah.
6 more times, then we'll cast again. I'll talk to you at 5 a.m.
No. No, this one's going to go unknown.
Well, let's get into some quotes. How about that?
Sure. I don't really have much to go on, honestly. I liked Reno saying, "Well, damn, woman, go."
That's good.
I wrote that down, and I loved Tilly and Stamets singing Bowie.
Oh, that was nice. It was real nice. That is like the song that would survive. Like a lot of times they have songs on Star Trek or whatever, and I'm like, would that make it that far? I don't know.
I mean, you had Reno waking up saying that she dreamt she was playing drums for Prince.
Yeah, Reno seems like she's going to be our like a Tom Paris type, our connection to the 20th century. She's going to like old cars and rock and roll music.
And I didn't write the whole quote down or anything, but I really did love Pike saying that he felt like the holograms reminded him of ghosts.
Yeah, that was great. A Pike quote that I really liked was, maybe it is a damn spider. I hate spiders. And it was mostly the delivery. His delivery on that line was really good. And then Burnham quote I didn't write down verbatim, but it was immediately after he said that, because that's obviously a joke. Maybe it is a damn spider. I hate spiders. Burnham, in a real like Kirk Spock fashion, Burnham says, "It is premature to assign anthropomorphic traits at this time." It just felt so much like something Spock would say. And then I have Reno saying, I think my last two are from Reno. Reno says, "You don't know me, Duck. I'm uninsultable." It's like, I like their whole little fight. Their whole fight is a lot of fun. But my favorite line of their fight came shortly after that. And he says some barb at her, she says some barb back at him, and then he goes on this real high-minded thing about how 200 years ago we were using, carbon fuels to da-da-da-da, and then she says, he says something like, "You're one of those people who, would have used carbon fuels." And she says, "And you're one of those people who does a ha-ha jokey thing and gets all huffy and high-minded when you can't think of a comeback."
Mm-hmm.
That was probably my favorite line of the episode.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Liked it.
I liked their dynamic. It was good.
Yeah, I did. I did. I liked it, and I like her, and I hope she kind of becomes a little more nested in with the crew.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Got any trivia for this episode?
Yeah, the title is, an Obol for Charon, or Charon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I can't pronounce it correctly. This Charon, or Charon.
Shamon.
That's, I can't think of words now. That's referring to a Greek thing where the obol is a coin that you place in the mouth of the dead for the ferryman, Charon.
Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
He takes the souls across the river.
Yeah.
That divides the world of the living from the world of the dead.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. I thought it was when the episode started, I thought it was a reference to, Georgiou's Empress Georgiou's, palace ship, which was called the Charon.
Yeah, that's right. I knew I'd heard that word in the show before. I was like, where did I hear Charon before? Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
but there it be.
There be our Star Trek episode for the week.
It is.
I dug it. It like I said, it was very paint by number Star Trek. So I don't feel like, I just had fun with it. I'm not like, I wasn't too crazy affected by it except for just, hey, that was fun. Watching Star Trek's fun.
I won't lie. I hope that, some of that knowledge comes into play later in the season.
Cool. I hope it does.
Some of that knowledge they get from the thing.
I hope it does. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drop that thread, folks. Come on.
All right. It up. Well, rub it on your privates.
Say, what'd you say?
I said pick that thread up, rub it on your privates.
Oh, okay. Something I should have just ignored.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back with you real soon. I think we're shooting to do a feedback episode on Monday. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. Well, throw us some feedback if you got anything. Let us know what you're liking, what you're not liking. Still a new podcast. So, if you're listening out there, let us know what you're thinking about all the new Star Trek and about our show.
Well, strap on the old feedback. Yeehaw! Wagon train to the stars. That's how it's relating. Star Trek. Wagon train to the stars.
You did it. You tied it all back in. All right, guys. Peace.
Live long and prosper.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at StarTrekUcast on Twitter, Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us there, or send us a message at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv. And if you want to hear more from Matthew Carroll, that's me, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, or go listen to my music at MatthewCarrollmusic.com or anywhere you get music.